So I'm considering doing my first religious video right now. I don't think I've done any others. On faith. There seems to be this common idea that people have where they say something like, God, why don't you answer prayers? It would build people's faith. It would make them have more faith in you. People would believe in you more if you would just answer their prayers. Or, of course, it's a skeptical thing. Well, there is no God, that's why he doesn't do it. But I think there's another answer. And that's because we're not understanding what faith is. Faith is not about God proving his existence. If God answered all your prayers, that wouldn't give you faith. That would give you something like certainty. That would establish God as something like a natural law that is predictable and there's nothing deeper to him. It would just be a matter of, a dispenser. Whereas what God's goal is to connect people to him. I would suggest. And connections don't come through dispensing so much as they do through building. So for instance, it is faithful to endure in spite of not having what would make a job easy. It'd be easy to always have what you need, the right emotional support, or not having to go through grief because, either because you've had the right emotional support or because God has healed the person who would die, who would make you grieve. These kind of ideas. Those would make life easy. It would be a removal of the necessity to face pain, to face difficulty, to face challenges. And that, of course, sounds great. Everybody wants that. But, it kind of harkens back to one of my favorite Orson Scott Card books, the Worthing Saga. Well, at least that's the collection. The first one is really the one I'm interested in. But in that book, there are psychics who learn to take away all pain in the world. And then they finally decide they're not going to do it anymore. And they are hated. One person who knows what's going on, at least initially, hates them. Because we were happy. There was no pain. We were happy. And spoiler alert, the problem is they realized that it took away what an individual, so somebody challenges these people that are taking people's pain away. And they're like, would you let me take away all your struggles, all the pains you've fought through and achieved through? And they were like, well, no, of course not. Those are my dearest memories of how I was able to deal with so-and-so's death or with the trauma of this and that, and how I grew in leaps and bounds through those processes. And then they kind of have this self-destructive epiphany of, oh my gosh, I've been preventing humankind for many thousands of years from growing. They've been stagnant. There's been no true achievements because there's nothing truly for them to fight against, no pain for them to fight against. Faith is like that. Faith is not about, it doesn't grow because you've received everything. That becomes something like certainty, but it's not an emotional connection. It's not a trust. It's trusting like you trust gravity, like you trust the sun to come up. How often do you worry about the sun coming up? How often do you worry about the gravity continuing to hold your house in place? You don't think about those things. So God is choosing to not answer every prayer quite the way we want to. He'll always be there for us. He always helps us through our horrors and our traumas. But He doesn't always help us through those traumas by removing the trauma or the pain of the trauma. And I think it's for much the same reason. He wants to see what growth we can achieve through the midst of those pains. So when you pray, you don't pray to necessarily get what you want, but to get through what you don't want, something like that. And how you get through it, in a sense, is up to God. But God will help you through it. And that may seem like, short shrift, small comfort. But it is the wisest and it is the way of going through life that sponsors the greatest growth, the greatest increase. I was thinking also of doubting Thomas. He sticks his finger in the side of Christ and says, "Lord, I believe." And Christ is like, "Really? You just stuck your finger in my side. Why wouldn't you believe?" Blessed are those who don't and yet believe, because they are the ones that truly have faith. Doubting Thomas had certainty. It was not about faith at all. It was about a certainty so bold he couldn't not believe. But faith is about, I've not seen Christ. I've not seen a miracle. I've never seen somebody healed, but I believe it can happen. Not because I trust that my pastor is lying to me when he says he's seen several miracles or other people. Not because I think might not be deluded when I feel like I'm speaking to God and actually feeling like I could be self-deluding, or I could be speaking to some deeper psychic part of myself when I speak to God and he resonates back to me, and I see things changing in me. But that it could be not God is not the point. The point is that by believing it is God, I put the mechanism of how far I endure pain and suffering and difficulty in God's hands, leaving the only choice I have left is to fully endure whatever I have and to be thankful for whatever I don't have to endure. Something like that. Yeah.